Malta is very close to Libya. And I can tell you, I met a number of business people who own all sorts of businesses in Libya now. Many of these were private businesses, but there's some extraordinary opportunity in Libya right now. I think that, everybody always says that then it was easy and now it's hard. And I would tell you that to sit around waiting for a time when the world is in panic, like 2008, the vast majority of people are beset in those periods with other problems, like they have a lot of redemptions from their funds, or they're getting fired, or there's all sorts of other turmoil that prevent them from investing. And I was just thinking, as Mohnish was talking, imagine, look at if you've watched sumo wrestlers. The actual bout of interaction with the other sumo wrestler is such a minuscule proportion of their lives, and even such a minuscule proportion of the time that they're actually being watched by the video cameras. All the rest of the time is preparation. And I think that from my perspective, rather than worry about whether the markets are over or undervalued, it's a case of constantly working the way those sumo wrestlers do on their preparation for that bout that may be a minuscule and very, very short period of time. And I think that you, in asking that question, as well as many others, we go straight into that rational neocortex. And the rational neocortex is mush in relation to many hard problems in the world. I think that training involves working on our own thoughts about risk, working on how we process information, identifying managers, identifying businesses, and that's our equivalent of the kinds of things that sumo wrestlers do before they actually get into the bout. And so focusing on whether markets are over or undervalued, or that it's hard to find value right now, is a kind of a distraction in a certain way.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done it already.
I'll start, as someone who I don't endorse, but who says there's always a bull market somewhere, which is our friend Jim Cramer. I think there's truth to that. I mean, I think that, there are 50,000 publicly traded stocks around the world. There are commodities, there are other asset classes and so on. And the world is continuously going through different kind of nuances and turmoils and, areas of euphoria and areas of panic and so on. So there are always opportunities around. It's a question of whether one is aware of them, whether something is within circle of competence, and those sorts of things. So the way I approach investing is, first of all, that market cap to GDP number. Something I've never understood is I've never understood why market cap to GDP has anything to do with the price of tea in China. And the reason is that if you told me it is a business valuation of every business in the United States to GDP, that I think I can understand. But market cap to GDP is only looking at those businesses that are publicly traded. So if we're in a situation where there's a few public companies versus many public companies, that number will move around. So I've never understood why Warren pays attention to it. He's a lot smarter than me, so there may be good reasons for that. But to me, there is no point. I don't even know where that number is right now, and I quite frankly couldn't care less what that number is. I don't care about what the Shiller numbers are. I don't care what any of these macro numbers are, and I couldn't quote them for you. I have no idea about them. My take is that when a specific business you're looking at has a value that hits you in the head with like a 2x4, where you don't need more than third grade math, where the PE is 3 or something, and it's blindingly obvious that it's within your circle of competence and ultra cheap, then you should act. And in almost all other circumstances, regardless of what Shiller is saying or those ratios of market cap to GDP is saying, you should not act. So it gets down to specific businesses and whether you can understand the businesses and what you think they're worth and what they're available for. My answer, and certainly I'd like to hear Guy's views, but my answer is that first of all, uh, there's a need to cull the data set. The data set is too large at any time, whether the markets are undervalued or overvalued. The data set is too large to go through. And a great way to cull the data set is to be a shameless cloner. So identify 10, 15, 20 investors, look at the top 3, 4, 5 holdings, look at the ones that you think are within the circle of competence, look at the ones that you think are ultra cheap. That's a pretty quick list to go through. And if you go through that and you find there's nothing to do, then certainly go fishing, no problem. Or in Guy and my case, go biking. And if you find there's stuff to do in that space, then by all means go ahead. But I don't think one should take a mindset of, oh, markets overvalued, there's nothing to do. Pabrai Fund started in July of '99, and from the first 12 months, we were up more than 70%, and that included the implosion of the Nasdaq in March, and in fact, for the first 8 years of the fund, we never had a down year. And 2000, 2001, 2002, these were terrible years for the stock market if you were invested. But we had no problem finding things to do and generating good returns. So in fact, that was a time when the dot-coms was sucking so much money out of the rest of the economy that things like Berkshire Hathaway and others got really cheap. So you were able to pounce on those. I would say that today, if you had the stomach to look at stocks in Iraq and Syria and those wonderful geographies, I'm sure you find some stellar bargains in different asset classes.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe if you haven't done it already.